All right, really quick. I'm not going to make you do anything weird. I've got 2 quick things I have to do. First of all, I promised Evie that I would sing, so you're welcome. Secondly, if everybody can just stand up for maybe 20 seconds, I want you to put on your best superhero pose that you can possibly do. Superhero pose, I want you to, the best one. That's the best you got? There we go. Now I want you to look over to the person next to you, and I want you to say, you are the hero that you've been looking for. You are the hero you've been looking for. Now we can have a seat. So I have been trying to become the superhero that I never had. And I eventually achieved what became my version of being a superhero. And I want to show you a little bit of the journey.
JR wasn't kidding about the chandelier.
Yeah. There's no music, but it's okay.
Whoa. Look at that. How did you do that? How do you slow down like that?
This is all Matt's idea.
I know, I heard about it. Wow. Dang. Yeah.
This is my first year. This is the first year I got into the TV show.
Get it. I think I watched that live. Pretty sure.
And so it didn't always start this way, though. In fact, it took me a long time to find my voice. It took me a long time to realize that we have to become our own heroes. My mom says I didn't speak until I was about 4 to 5. And when I turned 5, I was in the heart of North Miami. And this is back in like the late 80s, early 90s. And North Miami wasn't, it still isn't, the best place to live in certain parts. And I remember the first day of kindergarten, I was in a public school system in North Miami, and I was so shy. I was so scared. And I remember walking into a bathroom stall, so I had to be, you know? And next thing I know, I hear this kicking at the doors and these kids yelling. And I was terrified. I didn't know what to do. I was like, what is going on? And the kids started to climb over the stall. And eventually they kicked it in. They were 5th graders. I was 5. These kids were probably 10. And they proceeded to beat me with backpacks and just kick me and beat me until I was just bloody on the floor crying. And I was yelling for help. And nobody came. And this went on for what felt in my mind at the time 10, 15 minutes. It might have only been a few. But nonetheless, they left, and I kind of was in a daze, and I made my way to the principal's office, and I asked, like, hey, I just got beat up, and they were like, oh. They ended up bringing a bunch of kids in, and they asked me to choose the kids out, and I was terrified. And I didn't realize at the time, but this impacted me in more ways than I will ever know. And in that moment, I had lost my voice. And this repeated itself year after year. Different scenarios, different events, but year after year. And growing up in South Florida, I mean, there was gang violence, all kinds of stuff, and I was terrified. And I was seeking like a hero. I didn't have that in my household. And so one day, I'm a teenager now, I get thrown off of a bridge in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico and left for dead. And I was, again, yelling and pleading for my life, and nobody was there. It was, midnight. And I remember fighting for my life, and right when I surrendered and I truly just gave in. I was like, this is it. The seawall was about 14 feet high. There's no way I can reach it. I tried. I was scraped down my hands. And in the moment I gave up, I just surrendered and I just accepted death. A wave lifted me out of the water. Like it was like a scene from Moana. And the only thing, it lifted me up high enough to where I was able to dig, and I still have a scar here on my wrist. I was able to dig my wrist into the seawall, and I was able to pull myself up. Blood was just streaming down my arm. I had a white Hanes t-shirt on with a little hole right here, and I ripped it open like I was the Incredible Hulk. And there's a guy fishing over the edge. He looked at me, I looked at him, and I was like, why didn't you help? And he just turned and didn't say anything. And so I had to tourniquet myself, get myself to a hospital. And it was in that moment to where I realized I had to be my own hero. And so fast forward a couple of years, I joined the fire department because why not? I wanted to run in the burning buildings. I wanted to be a hero. I wanted to save people. And long story short, I'm not going to go into this today, but I ended up being electrocuted. And this spiraled me into fitness because at the time I was really out of shape. And so I thought, well, saving people didn't really make me feel like the hero I wanted to be. Like in fires, like I felt good, like I was doing a good thing. So maybe if I get myself into superhero shape, that's it. Like that's the thing that I'm missing. And so I got as fit as I possibly could, and I'm like, I'm gonna now help others do it. And so I ended up starting a business, a fitness business. And I grew that fitness business to where it was very successful. We actually had closer to 300 members, and base members in our gym. We had 298 at our peak. And we were really successful. At that time, I had the money, I had the awards, I had all these accolades, I had all of this stuff, and people around me were like, oh my God, but I still felt miserable on the inside. But one day, I thought this was gonna fix it. An investor came and he's like, I want to franchise your fitness concept. You know, we could take this around the world. And so I took out a loan for 30K. He put in 50K, we put in 80,000. We went down to a bougie franchise firm down in South Miami. I mean, this place was like the Boiler Room. You ever seen that movie? It was like, ring, sales. Like, and they got us. We gave them 80K. And we ended up franchising. And in that process, I learned a very impactful lesson. Very impactful lesson. We ended up being a little bit premature in our franchising endeavors. And so I'm over here trying to run a franchising business and my gym business. I couldn't run two businesses at once. And so we started to bleed money. And I was 45K in debt at like the peak. And during that time, my firstborn daughter, or Ava, was born. I have a daughter and a son. And I remember being in the hospital. At the time, that was supposed to be like my proudest moment. And I was stressed out. I was anxious. Like my trainer at the gym called in sick. I'm like, homie, I'm in the hospital with a baby. Like, and it was a few days after I got home from the hospital. I was sitting in my gym parking lot. My hands were just gripping my steering wheel. I was crying, like tears streaming down my face, looking in the rearview mirror, just feeling like a horrible man, horrible person. I was like, you are failing at this thing called life. I couldn't even pay myself a paycheck. I was like, babe, I'm going to try to make it work. And it was in that moment I had a seed planted in my head, a seed planted from God. And it was like, just go speak. Just go share. And I was terrified. I was never done public speaking. Terrified. And so I was like, okay. And I've shared this before. My first speaking gig, I went out there, was to a bunch of kids. I was a vegetable. I was a broccoli. But I was passionate. I was like, kids, you got to eat your vegetables. And I didn't get any clients from it. But, but the next one, I was able to speak to adults. And then I ended up speaking to the Chamber of Commerce, 100 people. And I was like, oh, it seems like okay. And it was good. And during that time, Facebook started to allow you to go live. This is like early 2017. So I started going live, and I used to be terrified, papers in my head. I was like reading off of a script, and the wind was going, and nobody was watching, But I just kept going and going live, and eventually somebody was like, hey, one of my friends on Facebook's like, hey, I'm part of this channel. And they had two of them. There was the health channel. I was like, that's awesome. And Telemundo. And so like I couldn't speak Spanish, so Telemundo came and they still interviewed me, but they had a voice over me, so that was one of my big breaks. But I ended up getting on the Health Network, and I did like a bunch of shows on there. And then I had the confidence now. I was like, I'm going to go after my dream of being on American Ninja Warrior. And I tried. I failed. I kept failing. And to get on the show, if you guys don't know, anybody can do this from like a practical standpoint. If you have to, for real, you have to submit a 3-minute video. And that video has to show your skills. You have that's why I have all this footage. It has to show your energy, because like, who's going to put you on TV? And if you don't have energy, and your story. And so I ended up sharing my story. Long story short, I got on the show. And during this time, I asked the producer, I'm like, hey man, I don't want to like struggle to get on the show like this anymore. What's the secret? And he looked at me, dead in the eyes, and he says, it's your story. Your story is your superpower. And I took that, and I was in business at the time, right? And I was like, okay. And so I ended up applying that to my business. And so during this time, I launched an online fitness business, and I started to share my story, the things that I went through, getting thrown off a bridge, like all of the things that I experienced. I just started sharing how I was a firefighter, got electrocuted, and I changed my life. All of these things, and people were like, hey, okay. And they started the vibe, and I realized the impact that storytelling made on me. And so what I want to share with you are some things that I have learned along the way in growing multiple businesses, generating millions of dollars in sales, and helping, at this point, thousands and thousands of people with this. And I want to share the most impactful things that you can apply today into your business, okay? And so the first thing is going to be understanding that your story is the bridge. I want you to think about the person that you are serving. They're at point A. That point A is the problem that they are in. They want to be at point B. Your story is the bridge that gives them hope. It's the bridge that gives them the light bulb moments. It's the bridge that gives them the inspiration. It's the bridge that gives them that epiphany that they need. And so when you could share your story as the bridge, it becomes powerful. Now I recognize there's a bunch. I did this on the airplane. I was like, maybe I should have some visuals for this. But there's 3 main kind of stories that I personally use. There's your macro story. Your macro story is going to be your brand story, what some people might call the backstory or your hero's journey. It's why you are currently offering what you offer to people, why your brand exists. For me, my journey into what I do today was I was posting on social media when I was, all this, and I was having high months and then low months, and I couldn't figure out how to crack the code. I just couldn't. And then one day, I took the lessons that I learned from American Ninja Warrior, the storytelling, and systems, and I created this unique kind of posting style, which many of you guys that have been in BLN, I've shared this with you, and then my business ended up blowing up. I ended up getting so many leads, so many clients, and I was like, I gotta teach others this. Well, really, other people started coming to me, is how it usually happens with our businesses. And so that is a brand story to why I do what I do. Okay? Then there's going to be micro stories. Why do you teach the method that you teach? So for those of you that have a unique method, right? JR does one-day events. He has many stories about why he does that. Your unique method, voice, right? There's a story to why you're into voice coaching. Right? There's a story we have, and that's what I consider our micro stories. And I've got so many templates and examples, guys, so do not worry. I'm going to set you up. And then we have mini stories. These are the everyday stories that are happening to you. How many, every one of you, and I'm going to challenge you, and probably nobody's going to do it because it's terrifying, but you can literally go live or create a video here. How many stories are happening here? And here's another thing that I learned from the American Ninja Warrior producer. The most ordinary stories are the ones that win. If you try to share the extraordinary, like nobody can really relate to, not many people can relate to American Ninja Warrior. But what people can relate to is going after their dreams, going after something that they really want. And so the more ordinary your story is, the better. And so some examples of this, and I just put it for memory, is I just did a post not too long ago. I shared that one of my clients. He's in the weight loss space. He signed 17 clients and made $38,000 cash in just a couple weeks. And I was celebrating him for the impact in the lives he's changing. He's helping diabetics. And I was like, he's crushing it and he's getting rewarded. And somebody commented, this is right, that's how you know you made it. When people like comment on your stuff and they were like, well, yeah, you shouldn't be celebrating money. You should just be celebrating just the impact. And I was like, yeah, I agree. Actually, I agree. And then I shared my personal story, my perspective, which we're going to get into, on why money's not the villain. Why money is coming from your personal value exchange, how you're giving value to others. And I did my whole take on this. Right? There was a hater on my Instagram. I'm just using ones that recently came up to show you how everyday things you can share with your audience. I had a hater on my IG ad who's like, hey man, your reels don't get any engagement. You should take your own advice. And I was like, I probably should. I probably should take my own advice. And I shared with my audience how there's this big engagement lie and how most people unfortunately think the more engagement they get, the bigger business they have. I'm like, I don't know. I've made millions and I have a small audience. So, and then I shared my perspective on how. I was like, it's because I do really good at taking care of people, nurturing an audience. And now that inspires my audience with my story, my perspective on that, right? Last one I'll share, just random, the micro stories, is I had a Father's Day a few years back. I walk out, my truck was broken into. And, well, I was like, man, they stole my favorite Ninja shoes and you can't get them anymore. Like, they don't make them. I was like, they're sweaty. You know, like, who wants those shoes? But they took the shoes. And I was like, I was bummed about that. But my family was taking me on this secret adventure for Father's Day, and I was like, And so I ended up like making a video about how these kids that stole my stuff, they're probably like, their dad probably left, right? And how as entrepreneurs we have to become more resilient. We can't let everyday things. Right? So it's all story. You could share in this right here. If you apply this stuff to your content, watch. Information is a commodity. I mean, go onto YouTube, go onto Google, go onto the internet. There's an abundance of information. What makes you different, your superpower, is your story. That's what connects with people. That's what captivates people. That's what people want, right? So I have this framework. You guys are going to get the slides. I'm going to put it in the WhatsApp group. All right, you're going to get the slides. I have a more in-depth how-to on this that you guys can click. It's all yours. I'm going to give this to you, okay? But the basics of this, for the macro, like your brand story, is the struggle, right? What was the problem, the hardship, right? The shift. What was the shift that made things happen? I was sharing in my story for the intro. What's the lesson? What did you learn? What was the key moment? What was the thing that was like, oh, what was that light bulb moment for you? What was the impact? How did that change your life? What was the ripple effect? And then I just gave a little example that you can read down below later. Then the micro story. So this is just a framework that I use where it's like, hey, I used to be on Hell Island. I was doing old method, whatever your people are doing, trying to get desired result, but it wasn't working. And I was complaining about all of these things. It made me feel this kind of way. And so one day, this happened, and I discovered new method. Within time period, I got desired result, and it made me feel desired feelings. I realized this truth about getting desired result was the realization you had. And then, now my mission is to help ideal clients get desired result for a reason why. It's a very elementary framework, but it works really well. The fundamentals, the simplicity behind this stuff crushes. So you guys can take this, put it in. And so, mini stories, there's so many ways you could do this, but I wanted to give you a framework for it, where it's like the moment. What was the moment that happened? What was the insight? What was the connection? And then if you want to have a call to action or some kind of engagement hook, if you're using this on social media, you totally can. And so your message is your weapon. Okay, I've done many talks on this, so if you guys are interested in a talk, this is a framework that I have. Your message is your magic weapon. And so you have struggling avatar, right? Your ideal client on point A, the aspiring identity they want on point B. Your message becomes your secret weapon, the power within you. And so while I'm not going to go into all of these elements, again, I have free masterclasses that I've done here and that I've done inside of Meland that I'm happy to point you guys to. But understand this. There is a villain that is out there that is harming your ideal client. Maybe in the fitness space, it's dieting. That's the villain, right? In the internet kind of marketing space, it's information is a commodity. There's a commodity like trap that people are in and they're not getting seen. There is a villain within your brand, no matter what you do. The villain is key because if you want people to rally with you, if you want to be able to get people into your world through your message, you have to understand that you've got to have a villain. And then you have to be able to shift them into a new belief. You got to get people to see things the way you see things. It's the book by Napoleon Hill. It's called what? Think and Grow Rich. You've got to get people to think differently, to believe different beliefs. When you can plant those seeds in your content and your marketing, now all of a sudden people start to think differently. And therefore, they're going to be more empowered to take action. So this is a really, really big key. And then the last piece I'll cover here is having your own unique angle, your own unique mechanism, your own unique method, some novelty, which is the last key here. Your wisdom is your differentiator. I truly believe, and I do this for a living, I truly believe that the new era of content creation, of marketing, isn't, how do I lose 10 pounds? It's not. Everybody knows. It's not, how do I get leads? It's not that. Everybody knows. It's not that you can't share that, but your unique perspective, your wisdom is the differentiator. And I once heard this quote where it's like, what is wisdom? It's understanding the difference of, like, tomato is a fruit, but not to use it in a fruit salad, right? And so here is a formula that you could think through. Your perspective is your unique advantage. Nobody can copy your unique perspective. Nobody can come up here and give this talk. You can give your version of it, right? That is a big differentiator for you. No one has lived your exact journey, so use it. Share your hot takes, your maybe counterintuitive approaches. Your wisdom gives authority, right? Your insights into your struggles, your insights into your successes are a major thing that help people. And then your story is your brand. It's how you see the world. It's what makes you stand out. And so the last thing I'm going to share with you, so you guys can take this, and I want you to do this on your next break or at some point later today, is I want you to try to infuse this into a piece of content. You can do a video, you can do a written post, you can send an email. I want you to actually put this into action. And so here's a really simple way how to post this on social media. Just simply tell a story that shifts beliefs. Challenge an industry norm. Just challenge something that's common in your industry that you're like, no, I don't believe that at all. Share your take on it. Another thing is share your experiences that only you can share. Like your story, right? Position your insights as a new solution. There's a lot of people on social media. Be a voice, not an echo, right? For years, I echoed everything that I heard because I thought that I wasn't important enough. I thought that nobody's going to care what I have to say, so I have to take what somebody else says and just try to repeat it better, right? It doesn't work. You're giving a filtered down version. Each one of you here, you're here to find your voice. You have a powerful message inside of you. And no matter who you serve and what you do, there are people out there that are suffering in your world, your audience. And deep inside of you right here, I look at that as a light, and I'm going to end with this because I'm out of time. The School of Impact is what we're building. And I look at the School of Impact as, has anybody seen X-Men? Yeah. Professor Xavier creates this school for mutants. And the X-Men teach the mutants how to use their powers. And so what each one of us in this room have to do, and what my school is what I'm building the school for, is all of us are mutants. We're all entrepreneurs, you know? We have right here this light, this passion, as JR said, this message, this gift. And when we can learn how to use our voice to communicate it, use our story, it does become your superpower. And I truly believe that if we want to fight against the darkness out there, the enemy, the things that are taking down the people around us, the people that we love, the people that we want to help, we've got to shine that light. And the more you can get yourself out of your fear and step into that faith, step into your purpose, step into your passion, the more you're going to change people's lives. And so this is one more framework. And if you want to see the full masterclass, you could just DM me in WhatsApp, or I'll put it in the group, the masterclass. So I want you to remember this. Your message matters right now more than it ever has before. Your story is your superpower. never be afraid to use it. As always, be seen, be heard, and be impactful.